There's one muscle that most people never think about, and it's almost certainly contributing to your lower back pain. And the good news is that once you start releasing it, the difference can be remarkable. I'm going to show you exactly how to release it, so stay with me because I'm also going to explain why the order that you do these 3 exercises is just as important as the exercises themselves. My name's Joe, I'm a physiotherapist at Sharp Physiotherapy. We're based in the UK, we've got clinics across Doncaster, Lincoln and Newark, and tight hip flexors are the most overlooked cause of lower back pain that we see in clinic every single day. So what are the hip flexors? Well, they're a group of muscles that sit at the front of the hip, and the main one is the iliopsoas, and their job is to bring the knee up towards the chest, and every time that you sit down, you walk upstairs or you get out of the car, your hip flexors are working. Now, the problem is this, it's that most of us spend a significant portion of our day sitting, and when you sit, the hip flexors are in a shortened position for hours at a time, and over time, they adapt to that shortened position, they tighten up, and they start to pull on your lower back. And this creates what we call in physio terms an anterior pelvic tilt. And what that basically means is the pelvis tips forward, the lower back begins to arch excessively, and the muscles and the joints at the bottom of the spine, they're compressed and they're put under enormous amounts of stress. And there is the beginning of your lower back pain. Now, the 3 exercises that I'm going to show you today directly address this, and we're going to do them in a very specific order for a very specific reason. Now, before we stretch anything, we need to release the tissue first. So trying to stretch a muscle that's already locked up, it's guarded, it's like trying to pull open a clenched fist. You won't get the length or the stretch that you're looking for, and you just risk irritating the area further. For this release exercise, we're going to use a foam roller on the front of the hip and the upper thigh. We're going to target the hip flexor group, and right at the very top of the quad, right where the quad or the rectus femoris, which is one of the hip flexors, joins into the hip bone. Now, the way that I would do it is just foam roller on the floor. We're going to lay on our front, support with the elbows, and we're only going to do one leg at a time. So on our front, rest on our elbows. I've got my foam roller under my quad, and I'm just going to roll that upper third of my hip flexor. And I can feel there's a bit of a sore bit. So I'm just going to start to oscillate on that area, just 2 or 3 centimeters at a time. And what we want to be doing with this exercise is doing this a couple of times a day. And we want to be doing 60 to 90 seconds worth of foam rolling. So now that we've released the tissue, it's now ready to be lengthened, and this is why the sequence of exercises matters. So the foam roller is going to increase the blood flow to the area, it's going to reduce the muscle's protective tension, the guarding, and make it far more receptive to actually being stretched. And what you'll notice is that when you do it this way, you're going to get a much deeper, more effective stretch than if you'd have just come into this cold. So always release the tissue prior to stretching. So now that we've released the hip flexor with the foam roller, what we want to do now is we want to stretch it. Now, the stretch that we're going to do today is a kneeling lunge. So it would look something like this. If we're stretching the right leg, the leg that we're stretching is going to be the back leg, the leg that we're kneeling on. And what we're going to effectively do is just go into a bit of a lunge, and you'll feel the stretch down the front of your back hip. Now, to really intensify the stretch, what we want to do is posteriorly tilt the pelvis. So as you lunge forward, your lower back will have this tendency to arch and round at the bottom of your back. What we want to do is negate that for maximum stretch on the hip flexor. So it'll look something like this: posterior tilt, flatten the bottom of your back, and then from there, we're going to lean forwards, and I can feel already that that stretch is much more intense. So we're going to do this again, few times a day, and we're going to hold the stretch for sort of 40 to 60 seconds, and we're going to change legs as well. So foam roll first, then into the hip flexor stretch, and then from here we're going to go into a strengthening exercise. Now, the final piece to this is the glute bridge, and I want to explain why this is here, because it's doing 2 very important jobs at once. First, the obvious one is that it just strengthens the glutes. Weak glutes are almost always a part of the lower back pain picture, so stronger glutes means more load taken off the lower back and more stability around the pelvis. But the second reason is something called reciprocal inhibition. This is a neurological principle where when one muscle contracts, the opposite muscle, its antagonist, is automatically inhibited or relaxed. And the glute and the hip flexor are direct antagonists. So when you perform a glute bridge and powerfully contract the glute, your nervous system is simultaneously sending a signal to the hip flexor to switch it off and relax it. So you're reinforcing the length that you've just gained from the stretch. So you're neurologically locking it in. And that is why this exercise comes last. And that's why the order of all three of these exercises matter. So to do a glute bridge, we want to be doing it on the floor. Have a lay on your back, knees bent, both feet flat on the floor, shoulder width apart, and then just relax the head and the shoulders. Now, a glute bridge is simply, we're just going to lift our bum off the floor. But what we want to do to maximize the glute contraction is we want to, like we did in the last exercise, posteriorly tilt the pelvis and then push through the hips. And if you do that, you're going to get more of a contraction of the glute. So what we're not doing is we're not pushing through the hips and arching the lower back. So it'll look something like this. There's an arched back, posteriorly tilt. So I'm going to flatten the bottom of my back into the floor, and then keeping the bottom of my back flat, we're going to push through the heels, which will switch the glute on, and then come up through the hips. And then when we're at the top, we're going to hold it for sort of 5 seconds to get a really big glute contraction. And then once we've had 5 seconds, we're going to slowly control down to the floor. So with the glute bridge, we want to be doing it every single day. We want to be doing 3 sets of about 12 reps, and the hold at the top, the pause at the top, it wants to be between 5 and 10 seconds. If you're finding that you're doing 10 seconds quite comfortably, you can go longer, but what often works better is to either do it on one leg or put a little bit of a weight on the front of the pelvis just to make it a bit more difficult. So they're the 3 exercises, always in that order. The first was the foam roller into the hip flexor. Release the tissue before you stretch it, or you'll just be fighting against the muscle for the entire time. Number 2 is the kneeling hip flexor stretch with a posterior pelvic tilt. Now that the tissue is ready, lengthen the muscle properly and hold for long enough to make a real difference and drive some adaptations within the tissue. And the last one is the glute bridge. This strengthens the opposing muscle. That will take load off the lower back and balance the pelvis. And it'll also use reciprocal inhibition to neurologically reinforce the hip flexor release that you've just achieved. I'd recommend doing this sequence once to twice a day. Be consistent. Most people will notice meaningful improvement within days and sometimes straight away, but the real change comes from making this a part of your daily routine. So long term, you want to be thinking about doing this 3 to 5 times a week if you're somebody that does struggle with lower back and hip pain. And one important note is that if your lower back pain is severe, it's radiating into your legs, or it's been going on for a long time without improvement, please get it assessed properly. There are many causes of lower back pain, and these exercises won't be appropriate for all of them. If you found this video useful, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, because it genuinely helps us reach more people just like you that need this sort of content. And if you've got any questions about your own back, feel free to drop them in the comments and I'll do my very best to answer them. And of course, if you're local to Doncaster, Lincoln or Newark and you want to get assessed properly, please reach out to a member of the Sharp Physio team. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.